Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to this week's video. I've got a little friend here who's going to do the video with me. Are you going to do the video? Come and say hi. Come and say hi, Bo. Hello. Yeah, hi. Thank you for tuning in to this week's video. As you can see, we might have some extra sound effects from my cat and my cup of coffee, which I'm going to slurp whilst doing this video. So today's video is all about challenging and changing behaviours, habits, things that we build up over a lifetime. And you know, some of those might absolutely be fine and will work for us for many years and for a lifetime. And then other times we may have habits in our life that just don't serve us anymore. And we get to a point where we become aware that those patterns just aren't working for us, and they might be causing us issues in our life or holding us back or just making us miserable, and we feel stuck in them and like we really want to change but we don't really know how. And the journey towards changing those behaviours most of the time isn't an easy path. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about how to get over those blocks and begin to understand how we create new patterns of thought, how we create new ways of behaviour, and how basically our conditions of worth and how we view ourselves and how we see ourselves. So they're the kind of things that we're going to be talking about. And this has kind of come about because recently in my own life I've been having some really negative sort of patterns of behaviour that have been just really affecting me, and I've just really noticed how much I just fall into these habits and patterns of thinking, and often it feels like I just don't know how to get out of them. I don't know how to stop doing them, which is frustrating, and then I feel like a failure because I don't know how to change, and sometimes things that I do seem really, really hard, and I just fall back into that old way of thinking because it's what I know and it's easier. And I've been talking about this quite a bit with my counsellor that I see, and we've been talking about it on my counselling course. So I got some really good insights around it that have helped me this week and may help you. Okay, so talking about a pattern, a habit, a behaviour that we keep on doing and doing and doing. And it may be that something happened to us when we were younger, or we can't even remember when, but we just always react or behave in a certain way to certain situations, or we're always telling ourselves the same messages over and over again. And that could be anything from you're not good enough, they're not going to like you, you can't do that, you're not good enough to do that, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not clever enough, or we always react to certain situations with anger, or we always react to certain situations and we feel fear or anxiety, and we don't really know any other way. We just always react in those ways, and that can have really negative impact on the outcome of what happens. So it may be that if you always react to certain situations angrily, and that then causes a ripple effect of issues, and it doesn't really get you what you want or isn't really how you think you want to be, then it can become destructive and it's upsetting because you're just like, I don't want to do this, but every time that I'm in this situation or this certain thing comes up, I always react in that way. So what I've been finding is that I spend so much of my time feeling like nothing I ever do is good enough. Like I literally feel like I spend 90% of my time thinking that whatever I'm doing isn't good enough. Everyone else could do it better than me, and I am not, like, just me doing what I'm doing isn't okay. Which is hard because I feel like, you know, I spend a lot of my time thinking like that, and then it doesn't really matter what I do or what I achieve because I always feel a bit like a fraud and feel like I'm going to get found out. and that I'm not good enough and I struggle to cope with things. So they're the kind of loops that come up for me. So I just was really thinking about how I've really consciously been that way since I was about 10. I think it was stuff in school that really triggered it, like just feeling like I wasn't good enough and that I had to achieve and impress to be okay and to be accepted. And if I didn't meet those standards that other people had set out for me, then I was going to get kind of left out, or I was going to feel like it wasn't okay and that I needed to do better. So that's where my own stuff comes from around it. And then we were talking about it on my counselling course, and I was talking about it with my counsellor, just saying like I always have this feeling. And often I think that in the self-help world and, you know, self-help books and YouTube videos, podcasts, whatever, there are people out there that can make it seem like it's pretty straightforward and you have responsibility over your behaviours and you should just stop doing that, swap it for a new pattern, a new habit, and then it'll be all, you know, fine and sunshine and roses, and you just need to be disciplined and then you can change things. And I began to feel like I was trying to do all those things that all these like self-help gurus and people were telling me to do, and then I was like, why can I not do it? Why doesn't it seem that easy for me? Am I just like a weak person? So I was feeling that quite a lot, and then I just found it really helpful talking this week about it, because we were talking about it from a cognitive behavioural therapy perspective of saying that when we have a behaviour or a pattern, it's basically like a something that we've built up over many, many years, and it's very strong in our brains. So it's like we've carved this path out for ourselves over many, many years. We've cleared that path, it's well trodden, and we're trying to get from one side of the woods to the other, and we've created this really smooth outline of this path over many, many years. So whenever we re-enter the woods, we always take that path because it's there. All the rest of the woods is dark and covered in bramble and difficulties and sticks, and we have to clamber over things. So this path is right there in front of us, so we'll just carry on taking this path. And that's the neural pathway, to use the CBT speak. That's the neural pathway that we've built up, and it's really well defined, a bit like a big motorway or something that's been established for many years. Everyone knows to get on it, and it's just your go-to. That's what your brain goes to. And then when we start to become aware that this path that we've built for ourselves maybe isn't serving us, and it's not bringing about particularly good results, it might be making us feel weak, and we're just struggling, we feel anxious, it might be bringing up depression, and we just become aware that it's not something that we want to keep doing because it's destructive. We want to start a new path, we want to find a new way. So we're in this woods and we're staring at the path that's all already laid out for us, and the brain is dying to go there, but we can say to ourselves, no, I really don't want to do that anymore. I want to react to this in a different way, and I can start to try and do that. But it's at this point where I think that I fall down, because I think that the new path should feel just as easy or just a little bit more difficult than this path that's already carved out and that's already nice and smooth and clear, and I can just run down and it's easy. Like over here where I need to build this new path, it is dark, it's covered in kind of brambles and nettles and all kinds of debris, and it's really rough underfoot, and it's really difficult to kind of clear that, and we're going to get some thorns in our hands, and it's going to be, you know, rugged and difficult to clear that new path. And it's important to recognise how hard it is to create new patterns and habits and change our behaviour. So if you are wanting to change something and you're finding it really hard and you just keep on ending up going down that well-carved path that you've already built, understand that that is the way it feels. It's okay to feel that way. And you can't just erase this path and move on to a new one within a short space of time. It just doesn't work that way. So we can choose to start clearing this new path, but it's going to take us some time. And there's going to be a lot of times where it's going to be exhausting, it's going to be really difficult, it's going to be tiring, and it's also going to be just really challenging. Sorry, my low battery thing just came on my screen then. So it's going to be really challenging at times, and sometimes we are just going to slip up and we're going to go into autopilot and we're going to go on that old well-trodden path. And it's going to take us, I think about how long it took to create this pattern that we're in now on this well-trodden path. It didn't happen overnight. It's taken a long time for us to build that habit up. So it's going to take us a long time, not necessarily as long, because we are going to be very aware and we're going to be doing our best to stay on working on this new path as much as possible. But it's still going to take time. And sometimes it's going to feel really uncomfortable. It's going to be difficult. It may be excruciating at times to do this. And it's okay. Like, we're all in the same boat and it's really tough at times. But it is possible to build new neural pathways, new paths. It doesn't mean that we can erase our own maps and those old roads that we used to go on. They're still going to be there. But we can choose to take those less, and as we take those less, they become more overgrown and built up, and the new paths become clearer, and that becomes our more of a go-to route than the old ones. My homework on this is to, which is a bit of a running joke, every time I hand in a piece of work on my counselling course, I always hand it in with an excuse of saying, oh, it's probably not going to be very good, or I didn't have much time and I hope it's going to be okay, and or I didn't know if I covered this right. And I always have to say something negative about it when I hand it in. And so next time I hand in work, I cannot say anything negative. I have to just hand it in and say, here's my work that I have done and I'm handing it in to you. And that may sound easy to you, or it seems like something really stupid. But I think it's important that it's small things like this that help us to begin that work on that new path. And then I will be able to do bigger things and feel like I don't have to constantly apologise or feel like I'm not good enough. But it's starting off with those small things, like being able to just hand in a piece of work and not apologise for handing it in and how rubbish it's going to be. So that is homework for me, which is going to be tough, but hopefully something that I can build on. And it's my first steps into learning about CBT therapy and how that works. So I'm really excited about it. And I just felt like it just made me feel a lot calmer and stop being so hard on myself when I recognise that I can't just erase that old path, and it's going to take me time to build this new one, and it's going to be messy and it's going to be difficult. But I'm just going to keep on trying. And if I do slip up the odd time and go down that old path, that's okay. Always got the next time to turn it around and make a different choice. So yeah, if you, I know everyone goes through stuff like this. I'm not alone. We're all going through our own stuff and trying to just do our best. And I think that talking about things like this just really helps me, hearing about other people, things that they've done to help them in these situations. So hopefully me talking about this might have helped just one person out there in my little YouTube world. So thanks for listening, and if you want to connect with me, I'd love you to comment, and I love getting back to comments and chatting to people. Thanks to everyone that I've met on here so far that supported me. And if you're on social media and you found it and you want to share it or give it a like or give me a subscribe, that would be fantastic too. and I will see you next week for another video. Okay, thanks guys, bye.